110%. When I was at UW Whitewater, it was powered by tradition. And I said, we got to develop something at CSU Pueblo that is going to resonate with everybody. And to us, developing champions is not just winning championships or having a 4.0 GPA. For us, it's building the whole person and building an individual that is equipped to go out in society and be a positive contributor after they graduate from our institution.
Welcome to another episode of Building a Champion, the podcast where we dive into stories and strategies behind successful athletic programs. Today we have a special guest. Paul Plinske is in the house. He is the athletic director at CSU Pueblo. Paul, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. Really excited to be able to share a little insight that I may have after my 20 years of experience as an athletic director, and looking forward to our conversation.
All right, well, we will dive right in. Now, Paul, I know that CSU Pueblo had an incredible season in soccer last year, the team making it all the way to the NCAA championship. Take us back to that final game. I have a feeling that your campus was just buzzing.
Well, in fact, it was our second year in a row making it to the national championship game. And this time we had to travel to North Carolina to be able to play in the great state and in the city of Charlotte. We had a familiar foe in Franklin Pierce, the reigning national champion from the year before, and our players were in top condition and ready to have a peak performance. Unfortunately, the game got away from us about later part of the first half, and we ended up being the national runner-up for the second year in a row. But what's exciting for me is that our head coach, Coach Oliver Twelvetrees, established a culture just the minute he got on campus in 2021. And now this year we're top 20 in the country. In fact, we're playing for the conference championship this evening, and hopefully we'll move into the tournament and advance to the NCAA championships after that. So it really goes hand in hand with what kind of culture that championship coaches create here. And that stems all the way from what happened for us at the national championship game in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Mm-hmm. And I know even to get to that national championship, that quarterfinal game you guys played against Cal State, that was a nail biter, went into penalty kicks.
It did. Oh man, that was one of those where, during the regular season in soccer, if the game is ended in a tie, there is no overtime. But when you get into the playoffs, you have to have an advancing team. So now you get into 10-minute periods, and if there's no score or if it's still a tie score at that time, then you get into PKs. And that is one of the most nerve-wracking things as a fan because you can't control a thing. And I imagine the goalie probably feels the same way because they're one-on-one with the offender. And so it was an experience for us that I'll never forget. We ended up winning in PKs 5-4 over Cal State LA, a nationally ranked opponent.
Explain the reaction in the stadium there as you guys were able to clinch that in the PKs.
Well, first of all, it happened down in Texas, so it didn't happen at home. So we were on foreign territory, if you will. But our players were running all over the place, and in fact, it got to a point where we had to kind of calm the emotion a little bit because we had one team that's obviously victorious, and the other team is losing, and it's a neutral site, and so our players were just really in unexpected excitement because I think all along we had thought that any minute in time we could lose a game, but they kept believing and put it together and won that championship and got on to the next level.
That's great. That's great.
It sounds like an unforgettable season. For our listeners who might be aspiring athletic directors or coaches, what advice would you give them about building up a successful program?
Well, the first thing I would say is if you're initially starting in your career and want to move into being an athletic director, make sure to find great mentors. Find people that are going to guide you along, that you can continually ask advice from. That to me was a critical part of my journey when I began. The second part is to make sure you have yourself in a good educational spot where you have real strong educational experiences. And for me, I had the opportunity to get my bachelor's, my master's, and my PhD. And so as I walked into college athletics in the world of higher education, I was able to instantly get credibility with faculty members. And I think that's my second vote of advice for individuals is to make sure you have a sound educational background. And then third, as you're moving in to the role, or I should say the seat of an athletic director, be patient. Things don't happen overnight. There are a lot of things that you can change over time. You're not going to solve every problem immediately, and you're going to be relying on 18 to 22-year-olds to really kind of determine your success. And so you have to really compartmentalize through the experience that you have with the administrative team on campus, with your coaches and staff, and then with all the things that you do to support your student athletes. And those are all part of the process that we can dive into a little bit. But being patient is probably one of my biggest recommendations to people getting in the profession, because success will come if you do it the right way, and that just takes time to get it to that point.
Now, it's not just the soccer team that's having a great season. Your football team is also pretty hot right now.
Well, it's near and dear to my heart, like all of our sports are. But quite frankly, I played college football. My dad was a longtime college football coach. In fact, before I came to Colorado, I worked at a Division III school in Wisconsin, and had the opportunity to hire Lance Leipold as our head football coach back in 2007. Lance is now the head coach at University of Kansas, and Whitewater was Lance's first head coaching job. While he was there, he went 109 victories, 6 losses, and 6 national championships. So I kind of got used to winning. Winning those 6 national titles with him allowed us to really build a platform for all of our sports at UW-Whitewater to be successful and to Division II. And so I've been kind of chasing success in Division II for a real long time, and especially in the sport of football. And now this year we're 8-1 overall. We are 1 in our region and 6 in the country. And so it's exciting. Obviously, with 2 regular season games to go, the stakes are still very high for us. But it's really something that I've been excited about because I put so much effort into it, and there's a lot of investments that gone into it.
So, Paul, you had mentioned the patience, and I appreciate that perspective. Walk us through briefly where your program was, where CSU Pueblo was when you came on board, and where you believe you and your team have gotten it to today.
So I had the opportunity back in 2018 to come in to take over for Joe Foldo, who was a longtime athletic director here, but he was also a former basketball coach. And so in his leadership style, had the meshing of really being a basketball coach. And my job at the time was to move in with my PhD, develop and work to develop relationships with the faculty, work to help bring the level of our athletic department from one level, hopefully, and ultimately to another. At the time, our athletic budget was $7.5 million. We had about $2.5 million allocated for scholarships. We were also fourth or fifth in the conference all sports standings, but we were 50th to about 75th in the Learfield Directors Cup. And so immediately within the first month, the administrative team and myself sat down and we started to write out essentially a strategic plan. And within that strategic plan was a mission and a vision. And we wanted to make sure that it was embedded in a SWOT analysis. We spent time with our coaches to understand what they felt were our strengths, where our weaknesses, where our opportunities and our threats were. And we put that all on paper and we wrote out a multi-page strategic plan that we are still using to this day. And a lot of it had to do with increasing the scholarships that we have available for student athletes, increasing and improving our grade point averages, developing more support systems for our student athletes, helping our coaching staff to have the resources they need, but also to be an athletic department that was leaders in Title IX, in mental health and wellness, in student athlete health and safety. And then, of course, as we all know, the pandemic hit us in 2020. And so we kind of had to take a pivot a little bit. And the university said, Paul, we want you to have more student athletes on your rosters. We want you to help bolster our enrollment so that we can weather this storm. And So that changed our dynamic. But at the end of the day, our strategic plan held firm and it stayed in place, all going back to the concept of being patient and just watching things on that strategic plan getting accomplished. And then all of a sudden, the byproduct of that was success on the field, was accomplishments in the classroom, and then it was higher levels of engagement in our community. And those are the things that we've been hanging our hat on now as we kind of pull out of the pandemic and into a new era of college athletics.
I'm kind of assuming part of that strategic plan is where you guys came up with that hashtag of developing champions.
110%. When I was at UW Whitewater, it was powered by tradition. And I said, we got to develop something at CSU Pueblo that is going to resonate with everybody. And to us, developing champions is not just winning championships or having a 4.0 GPA. For us, it's building the whole person and building an individual that is equipped to go out in society and be a positive contributor after they graduate from our institution.
Well, it certainly screamed out to me as I was looking, as it ties in well with our Building a Champion podcast.
Absolutely. And I give credit to our administrative team, our coaches, as we kind of came up with that tagline. And the thing that for us that we share often to our student athletes is that as we put it on our web page and as we put it on our facilities, for them it means that they're going to give their best. And in athletics, we're never going to be perfect. We're never going to win every game. We're not going to get the best grades all the time. Things are going to go wrong. We're going to have adversity, but it's the true champion that gets up day in, day out and overcomes obstacles to make themselves better and to become the best individual that they can become.
Well, CSU Pueblo has had success in various sports. What are some of the other standout programs and achievements that you guys have had over the past year?
Well, you talked about men's soccer. We also have seen success over the years, especially in our football program. Back in 2014, our football program won a national title. We've also seen success in our cross country and our track and field programs. That's been one of those that kind of slides under the radar. We have the same coach that coaches all three sports, from cross country to indoor to outdoor track and field. We're hosting the 2025 NCAA Division II Outdoor Track and Field Championships. And what's exciting for us is that we'll be able to showcase our student athletes, of which we'll have numerous individuals that are participating in cross country now. And then we'll do track and field in the spring, and we'll chase potentially a national title. We hosted the championship in 2023, and we had 5 national runner-ups. We just couldn't put it over the top and get a national champion, but those 5 national runner-ups were really pretty phenomenal for us. And in addition to cross country, track and field, we've had some really neat things starting to come in our baseball program. We used to be perennial conference champions. We have a counterpart across the state in Colorado Mesa that's really taken a stronghold of that. But we've always been one of the top programs and continue to be there. As we move along, what's exciting for us, in addition to football and cross country and our soccer program and baseball, is that our men's and women's golf programs are continuing to perform at a national level. And the thing that we've figured out here that I'm really proud of is that we have 65 to 70 student athletes that are from countries across seas. Those international student athletes come to CSU Pueblo and get a strong scholarship deduction, or a strong tuition deduction with a scholarship addition from athletics, and they're performing at a high level. And so we're seeing that in our soccer program, our cross country and track and field teams, and then also in our golf programs. And they're all performing at a high level in our league. So our women have won the most conference championships in RMAC history, and our men have won, prior to this last spring, 3 in a row. And so it's exciting for me to be able to see that as an athletic director and utilize our resources, getting in international student athletes, but also bringing in domestic student athletes that are from the state of Colorado and beyond.
That's awesome. So that kind of resonates with the next question. So we know that you've got the components to build a successful program and seemingly champions. What is the biggest hurdle that you face at a school of your size or a school in your geography or whatever it may be?
The biggest hurdle right now that I'm experiencing is financial. We are, you know, $11.5 million operation that includes scholarships and salaries and benefits for coaches and staff and all the operations that it takes for to run a sport program. We've got schools in our conference that are at 15 million, 13.5 million, and then we have other schools that are really close to us that don't have football. And when you sponsor the sport of Division II football, you pretty much need between 1.5 and 2.25 million dollars in order to be strong, successful, and formidable. But the finances are an obstacle, and that really started back in COVID. We dealt with the increase of our roster sizes, so our expenses went up with that. In addition to that, inflation has changed dramatically, and so now staying in a hotel is dramatically more than it was back in the pre-COVID era. But I'll also say that in addition to that, we're ever mindful as an athletic department as we work closely with our coaches in helping support our student athletes, in that our student athletes have greater needs than they've ever had before. We're always trying to learn how to teach our coaches, or I should say, we're always trying to help our coaches learn how to engage with their student athletes and give them an experience that is a transformative, lifelong memory for them. And they come in with different experiences. They come in with some, in some cases, some baggage that we try to help them work through. So we are trying to surround them with not only academic and athletic support, but also mental health and counseling. In fact, our counseling center comes over to the athletic department once a week and spends all day with our student athletes. We have a sports performance coach that works specifically with our student athletes on improving their performance. And then we look at nutrition, and we look at the holistic approach to well-being. And so those are challenges. Those are things that we're working on, probably things we didn't see as much pre-COVID. But when you add finances to the component of working with student athletes these days, it's a trying, difficult profession. And I know that resonates with my Division I and Division III counterparts.
Okay, thank you.
Looking ahead, what are some of your goals and aspirations for the athletic department?
I'd like to win a national title while I'm at it. That would be a real special treat. We've made some attempts and we've gotten close. That's one. Two is I'd like to continue to close our financial gap as an administrator. That's obviously a goal that we have. And in college athletics, of all the schools from Division I, II, and III, there are only a handful that really make money off of college athletics. But for me, it's a challenge because I want to name facilities and get naming rights. I want to bring in more corporate sponsors so we have more money to delve out to our sports. Want to build better facilities and be able to have safer, more secure first-class facilities for our student athletes to compete in. So, I'd like to continue to enhance that as I'm working on it. But more than anything, I think the biggest thing is to continue to work to make an impact, not only on the lives of our student athletes, but also on our coaches and our staff, the people who are making the biggest impact in the lives of our student athletes. And when we have senior day and we're recognizing these student athletes who are playing in their last collegiate athletic event, and then they go on to graduate, and then they come back after graduation as an alumni, those are special times for me because I know I've made an impact on their life. And that's ultimately a goal that I would have in my whole career and that I continue to this day.
All right. Well, before we wrap up, I have a few rapid fire questions for you. Are you ready?
All right.
What's your favorite sports movie?
Favorite sports movie? Remember the Titans.
Good one.
Can't go wrong with that one. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Nothing is as good or as bad as it seems.
Very good. If you could have dinner with any athlete, past or present, who would it be?
Michael Jordan.
Why?
The greatest of all time. Just had the work ethic that I admire. Came up from basically nothing to become one of the world's most famous, richest men ever. But seems to be very grounded and focused still to this day.
All right. Fantastic choices, Paul. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your insights. It has been a pleasure having you on the show.
Oh, my pleasure. Go Pack.
Go
All right,
Pack.
to our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to Building a Champion. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on social media for more inspiring stories from the world of athletics. Until next time, keep building those champions.